Welcome to the InnovaBuzz podcast, where we share all kinds of tips, advice, and interview guests on all things innovation and leadership in modern marketing. Each episode is a conversation with inspiring people who make wonderful contributions to our knowledge in these areas and spark curiosity and ideas to pursue. Join me, Jürgen Strauss from InnovaBiz, and let's get into today's masterclass on this InnovaBuzz podcast.
Part of innovation is accepting and being honest with what you don't know. If you are honest about where your weaknesses are, if you're honest about what where your boundaries are, if you're honest about what your abilities can or can't do, it allows you to start creating an environment of innovation within your own personal life. And if you take that and you build that into a culture within an organization, and people are honest and open about what they can and what they can't do, that collaboration leads to innovation, because we're now using the best of everybody's skills and we're 100% honest about what those skills are.
Hi there, Innovator. It's great to be back with another episode. I hope you've had an awesome week so far. I also trust you enjoyed my recent conversations with John Bellamy of Direct Messaging and with Tony D'Urso of The Tony D'Urso Show. I'm really excited to have on the InnovaBuzz podcast today as my guest, David Smulders. David is the CEO of BitQ, a company that helps you transform business data into valuable, actionable insights. David's mission is to help leaders build an insight-driven world through the strategic management of data, enabling smarter decision-making. A quick promotional message from our sponsor. That's me, or more accurately, my business, InnovaBiz. We help coaches and consultants build professional credibility, engage their target audience, and connect with their ideal clients. The result is that their ideal clients virtually self-select and line up to work with them. To help you get clarity about who your ideal client is and how you can build a strong, enduring relationship with them, take a look at our Marketing Master mini class. It's just 2 modules and it will take you less than 30 minutes to work through, at the same time giving you clarity on your ideal client and how you can communicate with them to build and strengthen an engaging, enduring relationship. You can even use this exercise to define your ideal audience for a podcast, for a speech or a presentation. Access the Marketing Master mini class at innovabiz.co/marketing master. It's completely free and accessible without even giving away your email. In our discussion today, David talked to me about selecting tools that are fit for purpose and present data in a way that is both meaningful and insightful so that it actually drives action. We talked about starting from a clear identification of customer needs and challenges and using the right data and the right information to make a difference. Without further ado, then, let's fly into the hive and get the buzz from David Smulders. Hi, I'm your host, Jürgen Strauss from InnovaBiz, and I'm really excited to welcome today to the InnovaBuzz podcast from Brisbane in Australia, David Smulders. David is the CEO of BitQ, and BitQ help transform your business data into valuable, actionable insights. Welcome to the podcast, David. It's a great privilege to have you as my guest.
Jürgen, thank you very much. It's a great honor to be on your podcast.
Now, Deb Farnworth-Wood, who was our guest on episode 191 of the InnovaBuzz podcast, suggested that we talk to you, David. So a big hello to Deb.
Hey, Deb.
Now, BitQ, you're all about the design and implementation of data strategies that transform business data into insights, valuable insights that provide the right information to the right person in the right format at the right time. That's what it says on your website. So that really resonated with me because it's a little bit like how I look at marketing. So I'm looking forward to unpacking that a lot more in today's discussion. But before we start talking about all things data and analytics and strategies, give us a little bit of a snapshot of your background. How did you get to where you are today, and what were some of the pivotal moments in that journey?
Thanks, Jürgen. Well, look, my journey's been an interesting one, filled with variety, which they say is the spice of life, I guess. So I'll give you the nutshell version. I didn't really know what I wanted to do when I left school. I was not one of those kids who decided at the age of 6 to be an accountant or a lawyer or a doctor. So, and at the age of 43, I'm no different. I still don't know what to do with my life, which is great. So my dad suggested hotel management based on my personality. I started as a training chef and really hated that. And that led into my moving into the sales industry, which the first probably 6 to 7 years of my life was in the motor industry, in various areas and divisions and that. And started to realize that maybe I needed to study something to get a little bit of fulfillment in my life. I did a marketing degree through the Institute of Marketing Management in South Africa, and started working in marketing for a small family business that was bought out by KPMG. Spent about 8 years at KPMG in various roles, my last being the head of business development for an area of theirs. I then bought into an IT company, which my brother was running at the time. And we grew that business from roughly 54% market share in the country to 100% market share across 7 countries. We sold that company and bought a food processing business, which you do. It's natural progression to go from software development into chips and peanuts. You know, that's how everyone does it. I also ran that business for a period to try and stop some bleeding of cash. And I think I did an okay job, considering I knew nothing about the food processing industry and manufacturing. But it was probably the best education I ever got in my life, was being thrown into the deep end of something I didn't know at all. And then after a few years, probably about 3 years, I sold my shares in that business, and my wife and I immigrated to Australia. And that was 6.5 years ago. I started off in Bungendore, outside Canberra, if you know where that is. And my first job in Canberra got cancelled a day before I was supposed to start. My first guaranteed job, because I didn't have level 1 police clearance. So, which was very interesting. So I got quite a hard knock and a hard start in Australia. My wife got a job in Brisbane, and we moved up here, which is not something I regret at all, because this is home for us, and I really love it in Brisbane. First job I got was with Honeywell, an engineering company, and I worked in their building services division, and then eventually in their processing solutions division, where we helped clients optimize their systems and their head-end systems and help them manage multiple operations simultaneously. So that was my first real taste of what integration of systems or integration of information can do for an organization, and how it can help optimize and manage a business better. I left Honeywell to join EY, so directly in business development in the Brisbane office. And that was a really fantastic opportunity, great networking. It opened a lot of doors for me, and I learned a lot working for EY. But after about a year, I moved on to try a few different things. Wanted to be more independent and more on my own. Had a few false starts, quite a few, two false starts, which are not. It was a good character building exercise for me, if anything else. And then I met my current business partner just over two and a half years ago. I worked with him, or for him, should I rather say, for about 2 months, helping him build his, strategy and looking at different opportunities and businesses and that. And then we decided to split the shares 50-50 and rebranded the company. And that's how BitQ was formed, and that's how BitQ exists today.
Yeah, that's an interesting journey through lots of different stations.
Yeah,
and
good variety.
Fascinating. My daughter works for EY here in Melbourne, so
awesome.
You may have even crossed paths. So what do you do today then, and why do you do it?
So today I'm the CEO of BitQ. It's a company, as you've said, that helps organizations make sense of their data, and we create valuable insights that enable smarter, more strategic decision making. That really means we go in and help organizations better manage their current information. The information highway, as you can imagine, is just growing and growing and growing. It's something ludicrous, like 80% of the world's current data was only generated in the last 5 years. So, it just gives you an idea of how the world has accelerated. I've always said that every good business decision I've ever made in my life was based on gut feel. Sadly, every bad business decision I've ever made in my life was based on gut feel. So what we try and do is take the risk out of decision making for executives by making sure that when they get a picture of their organization, it is the source of truth. They're looking at a clear picture of their business. They understand clearly what their sales are. They understand clearly what their costs are. They understand clearly what their processes are, so that when they need to make a decision, they can still make a decision on gut feel, but they've just got the facts right in front of them, backing them, helping them make decisions for the future of the organization.
Yeah, so that's a really valuable way to use that data. And as you say, there's with the information superhighway today, we have so much data, it's kind of a little bit of overwhelm, and having it in a way that people can actually make sense of it and draw some conclusions about it, and perhaps, like you say, still make decisions on gut feel, because at the end of the day, it's kind of like what feels right to you as a business owner. But if it's based on some good data, then hopefully that balance between making good decisions and bad decisions is tipped heavily in the favour of the good.
Yeah, and it's definitely, it's important to be able to have those, have that information in front of you, and it's also very important to have that information, at the tip of your on demand, really. We've worked with organizations where they have really good information, but the information's a couple of weeks old or a couple of days old even. And it's really hard to make decisions based on your organization when you're looking at a spreadsheet or a report or a dashboard that is not current, that is not live. The part of the business that is really exciting is the analytics part of the business. So there's 4 stages in the world of information. The first stage is really the digitalization of information. The second stage is the collaboration. So that's when you bring all the bits of information into one place. So you have your HR information and your financial information, your sales and your operations and your marketing and all that kind of information into one place, and you can overlap and loop and start to make sense of your organization as a whole. The third stage is the analytics part of your business, where you can start to analyze why have you gotten to where you've gotten to, why do things happen, why do customers buy, why don't customers buy, why do some salespeople do well, why do some salespeople not do well. That's really analyzing all that information, and it's really important to know what's happening over there. And then the fourth part of that is sort of the data utopia, where you want to get to, and that's the prescription environment. And that's where you can use your information, you can use artificial intelligence and data science like machine learning and predictive analytics to tell you what steps do you need to take to achieve future goals.
And I guess that fourth step is like having a model for where to go next based on the data and the patterns that the machine learning can then kind of do some predictive analysis on.
It is, and it's the analytics is divided into looking back and looking forward, right? You need to get a clear understanding of what your business has done to date, but you need to be able to use that information to shape what you need to do to survive in this ever-changing, fast-paced market that we live in today.
Yeah. Now, sort of for me, the obvious data that all businesses will have is information on sales. How much sales have they made? Who are they selling to? Who's their biggest customer, and so on. Also, in terms of their online presence around the website, all the analytics of the website, how many visitors are they getting, where are they coming from, how long are they spending on the site, and so on, and also similar sort of things with social media. What kind of data do you work with, or is there other data? Because I imagine, you talked about human resources, you talked about production. If you're in a production environment, obviously there's lots of data there. What are some examples of the kind of data that you pull together and build systems around that help businesses make good decisions?
It's an interesting question because there's very little information that we can look at. That we can't look at, should I rather say. There's data in every type of organization that is specific to that organization. There's data that's specific to that industry, and then there's data that's specific to a market or a sector, or places like that. Some of the examples I can give you are, for example, in the financing environment. We look at, you can use AI to start predicting fraud. You can use proper management of your information to better manage your credit score ratio, so that you make better decisions when you're giving people money in that. You can use information to better manage your resources. A lot of companies use really skilled resources like accountants to build reports and analyze spreadsheets and help them make sense of that information, where those skills could rather be used better at looking at the information that they've got and implementing or being more strategic for the organization, rather than comparing fields in spreadsheets. And you just create areas of risk and error that are unnecessary in a modern environment today. In the production area, you can use data to better manage your production of an example is your maintenance scheduling. If you can get your maintenance scheduling right, you can work out how long a machine should work, how long a machine should operate, how long a person should operate that machine, and really get to the maximum efficiency out of what you can, without standing with a whip and just trying to draw blood out of a stone with people, which is, part of the way that it has happened in the past. Now we can almost look at mapping out various processes and procedures through the better management of data, and saying, hey, look, if we build this way, or if we do that way, or if we put this process into that process, or we combine those two processes over there, you're going to maximize your output and minimize your input, which is what any organization wants to achieve. And those are the kind of things, the potential that you can do if you've got access to a variety of information is incredible. And, we help clients with that on a daily basis.
Yeah. So how do you go about building a system, say, for a client that comes to you and says, we've got all this stuff going on, we're not quite sure how to hook up all the information together to give us the insights we need to make good decisions and make faster decisions? Because I guess speed of making a decision is another key one. You mentioned the banking industry as one, and I imagine that as a customer of a bank that, for example, is looking to get a loan, having a quick turnaround there is going to be a huge competitive advantage for a bank and to me as a user of that service. So how do you go about kind of setting up or starting out with the company that has a need there?
Again, there's no single formula to go in and do that. Probably the best is to talk about our methodology that over the 2 years Craig and I have worked really hard to develop. And that methodology has developed because of my inferiority and lack of understanding of technology, and Craig's superiority and heightened level and understanding of business intelligence and data acquisition and data integration and how that works. So we really looked at the best of my skills and the best of his skills, and we used that to formulate a methodology, a 4-stage methodology where we go into a business, we review from top down the KPIs of the organization, what are they trying to achieve, what systems they've got in place, and what do they need. We understand and help them build a model of what they need from their data in the organization. We then go and do a deep dive in the business and understand what they actually have. Through that, we can determine what a gap analysis, or what the gaps are in order to get from where they currently are to where they need to get to. And we are then able to build a roadmap for how do you close that gap? How do you get closer to where your business goals are or your future goals are? Now, the challenge in that is often it's a period of where you have to be agile, you have to be flexible, you have to be willing to build a information integration in such a way that as the world progresses, as things change, as the organization buys another business or is absorbed into another business or starts a new line, or there's a marketing condition that changes or a regulation that changes, you've got to be able to adapt what you're doing to accommodate and suit that so that you're still getting the outcome that you want at the end of the day, and accommodating all these changes and differentiations that go along the path. The other thing is realizing that often, and we all do that, we think we know what we want at the end of the day, but until we start sitting down and articulating it and working it through and testing it, it may not really be what we want. So it's got to be a process where we think where we need to get to, but we've developed the stage that helps clarify and question and challenge and sort of edge out, so that by the time we get to that end point, we've got a customer who knows that that's what they want. They know how that's going to help them achieve what they need to do in their organization, and we've been a part of that journey that helps get them to that stage, which is why I'm passionate about what we're doing is, in effect, helping make a better world. It's helping make better decisions, helping people make better decisions, which can lead to better outcomes for all of us.
Okay, well, that's a pretty comprehensive approach, and I guess it's bespoke depending on the particular client or the particular industry that they might be in and the environment that they're in. When you get to the point of identifying gaps and identifying the needs, do you actually then implement the solutions, or how does that work?
Yes, we do. We've got a whole team of data engineers and specialists and data scientists, and really a room full of people who are skilled in doing anything from building integrations of information to building data warehouses to building dashboards and building reports, implementing machine learning within the organization. So we've got an array of skills amongst our team, and our team is to date we're standing at 17, which is impressive considering we were only 2 years ago. So we really have a quite a broad team that can help do that. One of the things that we don't do is we don't go out and sell a product, and we often see clients make that mistake. They go and they say, "Oh, I've bought this tool and I'm going to plug it into my organization. It's going to change my life." And you're going, "It's a fantastic tool. Have you assessed? Have you analyzed? Do you know that is the right tool for what your needs are?" Just because the tool is amazing. And I often see people go out and they buy a Bentley Continental GT and they try and take it to Stradbroke to go to the far side of the island, and you're going, well, your $250,000 sports car is not going to get across the beach. So sorry, you've bought a great car, but you just don't have it for the right purpose. And
that's right.
It's very important that they follow those processes before they even think about, what do we need to be implementing? They need to understand their why first.
Yeah, that's a good point, starting with the why. Now, you mentioned that you don't go out and sell a particular service or product. How do you go about building the growth of your own company and marketing that? Because obviously there has been growth if you've gone from 2 people to 17 people in a year.
We're very fortunate that the majority of our business has resulted from word of mouth. We've gone and we've delivered a project for a client, and they've told somebody, and we've gone and then delivered a project for them, and they've told somebody, and we've gone and delivered a project for them, and they've told somebody, and it's just grown and grown and grown. Craig and myself, are adamant that we put customer service above profitability, which hasn't been fun at some stages, to be honest. But at the end of the day, when you do that, when you're in a business because you're passionate about what you're doing, when you're in a business because you're passionate about the outcome, and you make profit your second goal, or you don't make profit your goal, put it that way, you just tend to seem to be doing better, and you tend to seem to be growing a bit faster, and growing smarter, not only faster, because there are competitors, there are businesses out there that have grown financially and resource-wise way quicker than what we have. But I think we've grown really smart, and we're pretty comfortable that we'll put you in touch with any of our customers, and they will give you a review of our business that would make you want to work with us.
All right. So what is unique then about you? I mean, you mentioned customer service, but to me that is a little bit of a given, although I guess if you're building a marketing platform exclusively around word of mouth, that obviously that customer service is working exceptionally well for you. But what's unique about BitQ that other companies that do similar things are different?
I can honestly say that customer service is not a given. It's sadly, I come across this on a daily basis, again, where we're in a world where profit and shareholders are first, and your responsibility to the profitability of the business and the return of investment is your first and foremost day-to-day goal and focus. And we see people make really, really bad decisions and take shortcuts in places that they really shouldn't take shortcuts. And we overcome that by really making sure that we understand at the same, if not at a better level, or at a different level, should I rather say, the customer's needs, their problems, their challenges, their stresses, their concerns, as what they do. And by doing that, we take longer. Our sales process cycle is longer than what if I had a VC in the business, they would be having heart attacks probably by now. But we're very confident in our sales process cycle that by the time we've signed that contract and by the time we have somebody on site, we know what we're doing, and they know what we're doing, which is more important. And we work on that journey together with them, and we're in their offices, and we're talking to them all the time, and we're telling them about problems, and we're honest up front when things are going not as anticipated or as planned because of uncontrollable or circumstances we didn't know or things like that. And I can tell you just from the feedback that I receive from a lot of my clients that it's a rare thing. It's a rare thing that people are willing to go that extra mile in especially this fast-paced world that we're in for customers. So it really is a differentiator for us, in that what we've built, the processes that we've put in place, the systems that we've helped customers achieve, the end goals that we've helped them achieve, is our differentiator. And that's probably because of the time we take to seek first to understand.
Yeah, I like that. Seek first to understand. I guess I think I agree with you in terms of customer service isn't a given from the point of view of companies in the marketplace, and this is across all industries. My kind of statement was more from a user perspective. So if I'm a customer of a service or a product, I expect good customer service. That, to me, that doesn't sell me if somebody says we give you good customer service. Now, of course, on the other side of the equation, I do know that is not necessarily a given. And just for example, one of the things that really annoys the hell out of me all the time is internet service providers and what else? Phone companies, mobile phone companies and other phone companies. They're really good at this. They put out these special offers for new customers. And if an existing customer then goes back and says, well, actually, that's more expensive than my plan, or that's less features than my plan, so I'd like to switch to this new special offer, they get the response, no, you're an existing customer, you don't get the special offer. So we take care of new customers better than existing customers, and that to me is just one example of really bad customer service. But yeah, so coming back to because you mentioned taking the time to really understand the customer and understand their needs as the first step of your sales process. How do you go about identifying, who is a good customer for you, who has needs and gaps in what they're doing that where you've got something that can actually help them?
Well, that's part of, I guess, our slow sales cycle. Is a good customer for us is a customer that is willing to take the time to open up to us, willing to take the time to work with us, to help them understand and help us understand what the problem is that they're working towards. And when I say that, every business guru, if I put that in inverted commas, and we'll leave it at that, all these talks that I go to and all these startup hubs that I've been involved in the past, both as a mentor and as sitting on both sides of the fence, a participant, they've all gone and they've said, you need to segment your business, you need to have a specific industry, you need to become a specialist in a particular area. And we have looked at that long and hard and tried to understand where can we become specialists in. And really the flow of information, the journey that a customer has to take to get from where they are to where they need to be in the world of business intelligence and artificial intelligence and data science is almost exactly the same, whether they're a banking or financial services client, whether they're a manufacturing client, whether they're a government organization, because it's understanding what information they currently have, understanding what they want to do with that information, and understanding who are the key players and the people involved in that process. And by doing that, every single system that we work with across every client, even if we've got 3 mining clients, and you cannot tell me that when you've done one mining client, you're a specialist in the mining industry, because the systems that all 3 of those clients have are so completely different. And they're built by different people and they operate in different ways. Yes, they all take stuff out of the ground. They all put it on a train or a truck. They all export it to a place to be processed or a harbor to be exported. They all do exactly the same. But the fundamentals and little things that they do differently and the systems that they use to control each and every one of those processes are really different. So unless you take the time, and I guess that's where our specialization comes in, is that if you take the time to understand how each of those systems work and what do they provide in the value chain, and can you use them, or do you not? Is there a way that you don't have to use them? That's how we identify the perfect customer for us.
Okay. So what do you see as the risks of kind of pushing the boundaries in this frontier? I mean, it's kind of different, isn't it, to use modern technology to really leverage the data in a way that gives you insights and actually enables you perhaps to predict what's coming down the track, and certainly have a real-time dashboard of what's going on in the business right now. What do you see as some of the risks of pushing those boundaries and that innovation?
Yeah, I guess the biggest risk is still doing nothing. And, we've spoken about to clients about that all the time. The risk of pushing the boundaries in terms of information management and that is, again, using the right tool for the wrong purpose, or the wrong tool for the right purpose. Either way, they have the same negative outcome. If you go and you buy the most expensive, flash, easy to use, whatever your characteristics are, whatever your decision-making process is, as an example, and you go and you buy a BI tool. Let's say you go and buy a tool that you're going to plug into your systems, and it's going to give you a dashboard, and it's available on your mobile phone, and everything, all the stars align for you perfectly. It gives you all the boxes that you want to. You can generate a sales report at the push of a button. It gives you all this wonderful information and all that. If you're not willing to invest in the first stages, and the first stages are 80% of, probably even 85% of what is needed to happen. If you're not willing to invest in the first stages of getting all that information sorted and getting all the information clean and making sure that you've got a source of truth, all that you're really doing is you're presenting wrong information in a really beautiful way. And we've seen that time and time and time again. And BI tools, as an example, are becoming easier to understand, easier to use. Windows for Dummies is a perfect example, not the Windows for Dummies, the X, Y, and Z for Dummies series which have come out. They've written books on almost everything, every BI tool that you can think of. So you can get somebody like myself who's really technologically challenged, and I can go and put a BI tool on top of my financial reporting system and have really beautiful looking dashboards and really funky looking reports. But unless I know how to integrate and clean and manage and sort that information prior to getting to that stage of implementing all these beautiful, pretty dashboards and reports and that, it's the old garbage in, garbage out scenario, just with a lot prettier makeup.
Yeah. And also knowing how to interpret it and what it actually means, because who was it that said there are statistics? What was it? Statistics, stamps, and lies. But yeah, basically you can take numbers and manipulate them to whatever you like.
Yep. My favorite saying is, remember that 96.253% of statistics are made up on the spot anyway. So.
yeah, that's right. I was trying to think of one like that. Basically, you can just invent one. Yeah, love it.
No, look, it's a problem because the tools, the end user tools, are becoming more and more and more user friendly, which is fantastic, right? Don't get me wrong. That is what you want. You want the end user to have tools that are easy to use, easy to manipulate, easy to change, easily accessible, whether you're on a mobile phone or a tablet or a laptop or, a 7-screen plug-in multi-system in your office, whatever it is you want. It's great that they're becoming easier and easier and easier. The challenge is that means there are more and more and more people who deem themselves to be experts. And they go and they do stuff wrong. And it's got a negative connotation on the industry. People often come to us and they go and they say, I spent $80,000 on this report and it's wrong, and I'm not going to spend another $80,000 with you because you're just going to give me a wrong report. And you go, well, take us through the process. What did you spend money on exactly? Let's first understand that. Forget how much you spent. Tell us the process you went through. And they went, oh, what do you mean a process? Like, well, what did you go through? What steps did you go through to build this report? Oh, no, well, we just bought the software and plugged it in, and some guy came in and did some coding for us, and that was it. And you go, well, did you ever evaluate your current information? Did you ever check how true it is? Oh, no, we didn't do any of that. And you go, well, I could have saved you $80,000 right up front.
Yeah.
And that's becoming more and more and more of a challenge. And we are seeing more and more companies phoning us and saying to us, help. I've hired some guy, who spent the last 6 months studying a BI tool, and he's now an expert, and he's come and implemented in my organization, and it's wrong. What can we do? Well, the information is still wrong, or it's not about the prettiness. We're not there to help make reports pretty. The BI tools are created in such a way that you can now make them as pretty as you want to once it's implemented correctly.
Mm. Yeah, I guess one of the things that I think is really valuable in all of these things is actually going through the processes step by step and doing things manually, even though it might be quite cumbersome, but doing them manually so that you build the process, build the steps, and then look at, once it's right, then look at automating them.
Yeah, because automation is fantastic, but automation is not fantastic if you've got the wrong processes in place.
Yeah.
If you're putting the tires on a car before you're putting the rims on, your car's not going to go anywhere. Sorry, I'm a very visual person.
Okay. Love the analogies. All right, well, this has been fascinating, David. I think it's time to move on to our Buzz, which is our innovation round, and it's designed to help our audience, who are primarily innovators and leaders in their fields, with some tips from your experience. So I've got 5 questions, and hopefully we'll get some really insightful answers based on your varied background that'll inspire people to go and do something awesome today. So what do you think the number one thing is people need to do to be more innovative?
I think people need to be more honest. Part of innovation is accepting and being honest with what you don't know. If you are honest about where your weaknesses are, if you're honest about what where your boundaries are, if you're honest about what your abilities can or can't do, it allows you to start creating an environment of innovation within your own personal life. And if you take that and you build that into a culture within an organization, and people are honest and open about what they can and what they can't do, that collaboration leads to innovation, because we're now using the best of everybody's skills, and we're 100% honest about what those skills are.
Yeah, that's a fascinating way to look at it. So, and I guess that brings up the curiosity of, I wonder what it's like knowing something that I currently don't know, or I wonder what other people think of that I don't understand.
Yeah. And I do think part of my innovation in life is all stem from the fact that I'm inherently lazy. And I spend my life trying to find more efficient ways to do stuff that are tedious tasks that don't have to be done in the same way over and over and over again, which is a great opportunity. So, but it does, the reality is that I think we all have the ability in us to be innovative in some area or some field or that. It's our inability to believe that we can actually make a difference that prohibits a lot of us. Or, people are scared to be made a fool of. And
Yeah.
if you're willing to be honest and you're willing to be made a fool of because you don't know something or because you think we can do something different, then that will be that is what creates innovation. Now, I'm probably going to get this wrong, but I think it was Graham Bell Alexander Graham Bell, before he invented the telephone, had something like 120 failed innovations before the telephone. And Google that, because it will be somebody who invented something somewhere. But I think it was him. And he had that persistency and that ability to just keep going and saying, yes, I failed. I didn't know what I was doing, but I'm going to try something else. Or, you have to have that tenacity inside of you. And eventually all of us will be able to be innovative in some area in our life.
All right. Well, what's the best thing you've done to develop new ideas?
Hire smart people. I am very, 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 very adamant, Jürgen, that I don't hire anybody that I think is of my equal or lesser than me, which is not a very hard thing to do. just so that I can be clear on that. But my standards are when Craig and I interview people, as an example. So Craig is a technical interview. He'll go and interview somebody and understand what are their technical abilities, and can they code, and can they do architect, and can they. When I interview somebody, I talk to them about them. I want to understand what drives them. I want to understand what makes them tick. I don't think I've ever looked at a CV of an individual in my life before when interviewing them, because I find the CV absolutely pointless. People lie on their CVs all the time, in my humble opinion. I want to talk to somebody about what drives them, what motivates them, what builds them. And if I can see that ability or something in that person, and it doesn't have to be overall that they're smarter than me, but if I can see an area in that person that they are smarter than me, or they're better than me, or they can do something differently that has a better outcome than what I do, that's the kind of person I want on my team. And by doing that, I can come up with crazy ideas and things like that, but they're the people that shape them and mold them and develop them and keep helping our business grow.
Yeah, that's a really good approach, and I think there's a widely held recommendation or widely belief recommendation that says hire people for attitude and culture fit as opposed to skills. I mean, yes, they've got to have the skills to do the job, but the culture fit and the attitude is probably the thing that's going to actually make the big contribution.
Yeah, and we've made that mistake. We've, especially when our business was younger, we were desperate, and we hired people because they had good skills, even though we knew their culture wasn't what we wanted it to be, or it wasn't what we needed it to be. And, it hurt us in the beginning. It cost us money, and it cost us reputation. And it's not something that as, while I'm the CEO of the business, it's not something that I'll be willing to let happen again.
Yeah, hey, we've all made that mistake. I've certainly done it many times in my corporate career.
Yeah, I have a few T-shirts.
All right. Do you have a favourite resource that you use most often?
Oh, yes. my Surface book. I'm a writer. I hate typing. I can't type. I like my notepads. I like the pen. To me is still the most powerful sword that I have.
Yeah.
And when I'm sitting in a meeting and I can doodle and I can draw pictures for myself, and I can build out expansions and draw images and that like that. That helps me think, but I'm a very visual person. So you can send me a document of 10,000 pages, 10,000 words, whatever the case is, and it's a very detailed step-by-step explanation of what the problem is, and I will not probably understand what you're trying to say to me, but you can draw me a picture of what your challenges are, and I'll get it straight away. So my one thing that I am never without is my ability to have a notepad in front of me.
Yeah, that's I'm kind of a big fan of whiteboards. I've got whiteboards in my house, so I love to get up and draw on that. And I've got some nice fountain pens too that I like to write on, even though I am pretty quick on typing and probably less visual than you are, but I still find it really valuable.
Yeah.
All right.
No,
now, what's the best way to keep a client on track?
Communication. And then don't forget, very, very important, communication. We don't talk enough. Nobody has enough time. In my own life, my wife and I don't have enough time to sit down and discuss what sports are happening on the weekend and who's taking who to soccer and to hockey and what's happening with the dog and, who's going to cut the grass or fix the fence or make dinner or whatever the case is like that. And that's just two of us in one single simple household. In an organization, when you're working on a project and there are 20, 30, 40, 50 different moving elements and stakeholders and people within the project, the first thing that falls away is communication because we're all too busy. And I can promise you one of the best things that I ever did in my life was I've stopped reading emails. And I know it frustrates the living daylights out of a lot of people, but I read emails when I'm bored, and I have a specific time during the day that I sit down and I read my emails. The rest of the time, I don't read my emails. I don't attend meetings. I don't need to attend because we just don't have the luxury of time anymore. So one thing, if you can do, and you can up your communication skills with the client, and you can up your communication skills with your project team, and you're talking to them, not on a daily basis, on a constant basis. The minute there's a problem, the minute there's a win, the minute there's a challenge, the minute there's an opportunity, and those conversations are fluid and they're happening all the time, it's the only way to keep something on track.
Yeah. Well, you're definitely very passionate about the communication, and I love the analogy because it does come back to time and where we do focus the time. And I think communication is kind of seen as an afterthought, and yet it's so fundamental to actually getting things done. And you mentioned earlier about hiring good people and working with good people to get new ideas off the ground. So communication is really key there when you're working with other people.
Definitely. If you can't articulate what needs to happen, if you can't articulate a specific reason, you can't add value. And, I'd rather challenge people to say, if you have an issue in life, up your communication skills before you up your technical skills. You'll always be better off for that.
Love it. All right. Now, what's the number one thing you think anyone can do to differentiate themselves? Apart from upping their communication skills.
I don't know. It's hard to choose one thing that you can do to differentiate yourselves, because we live in a world where I have struggles with my and not my 10-year-old daughter yet, because luckily she's not at that stage in her life yet. But where if you look at social media and you look at television and things like that, just a 10-year-old daughter a girl's not allowed to be a girl anymore, because they have to wear their hair in a certain way or have their makeup in a certain way or wear their clothes in a certain way. And in business, you're expected to act in a certain way and dress a certain way and perform a certain way, and that. And I think the best thing the one thing to differentiate yourself from anybody else, I would say, is to be genuine. Now, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, with me, is what you see is unfortunately what you get. So, you aren't going to see a different side of me. I'm the same happy person I am at home and at work, or the same grumpy person I am at home or at work. And I treat my staff the same way I treat my customers. It's very, very important to be genuine, and I think we lack a lot of that genuineness in people, because I don't know. I don't know the reason. I don't know if it's because society's forced us or pushed us. But when I meet somebody and I see somebody who's genuine and they're upfront with me about what their weaknesses are, and you know, I'm not talking about a smart ass who comes in and tells you, oh, you know, my weaknesses are I work too hard, you know, and stuff like that, because, you know, I've been around the block too long. I can see through that stuff. I'm talking about somebody who's genuinely honest about what their weaknesses are. I've got a number of staff members who work with me, and I say to them, hey, can you do this? And they go, no, but I can try and figure it out with you if you want. That's the kind of people I want on my team. Rather than, you know, somebody who goes and says, yeah, I can do it, don't worry about it. And then, you know, we're constantly letting people down.
Yeah. All right, that's wonderful. This has been absolutely fabulous, David. I really appreciate it. Now, where can people reach out to you to learn more about BitQ and you, and maybe even say thank you?
Oh, look, my email address is david@bitq.com.au.
But you don't read the email, right?
I don't, but somebody checks it. And you know, my contact details are. I probably use LinkedIn more than what I use my own phone and my emails and things like that. I live on LinkedIn, so please feel free to reach out and send me a LinkedIn request, and it's just David Smulders.
All right. Well,
but yeah, or phone me, and I'm up for a cup of coffee. Whoever wants a cup of coffee or a game of golf, give me a call. I'm always up for that.
Okay. Well, we'll post links to your website and to your LinkedIn profile, and people can get in touch through that.
Awesome.
Now,
thank you very much.
What's your parting piece of advice you'd give to any business owner who wants to be a leader in innovation and in their field?
If you don't believe that you can make a difference in doing what you're doing, then you're doing the wrong thing. And as hard as what it sounds, yes, we've got bills to pay. We've all got mortgages, and we've got school fees, and we've got clothes and food and everything like that we have to buy. So I get that people do stuff to pay bills, and I'm a full supporter of getting everybody off the dole as quickly as possible. And I think we can lower our taxes in this country significantly if everybody's working and contributing fairly. But make sure that that's a means to an end and not the end. Make sure it's it's an exception and not the rule. I think we can all find our purpose in making sure that what we're doing is making a difference and it is contributing. And trust me, whether you're a bus driver or whether you're a school teacher or whether you're a CEO or whether you're a scientist finding the cure for cancer, you can do it just as a job, or you can do it because you're making a difference. And I think if you view what you're doing and you understand your purpose and you understand your why, it's going to make this a much better place, and it's going to make your life a lot easier within your job, your organization, your world.
Yeah, I like that. And I think people kind of underestimate the difference that they are capable of making in the world. Now, you mentioned curing cancer, and that's obviously a big thing and an admirable thing, but you don't have to find a cure for cancer to make a difference in the world. So most people are not capable of getting into that space and doing research into cancer cures. So you can make a difference, even in little ways. All right. Thanks, David. Last question. Who would you like me to interview on a future InnovaBuzz podcast, and why?
Oh, I've got a long, extensive list for you.
Oh, great.
Can I get back to it? Because there are so many really good people that I would love you to reach out. But, Bevan Slattery is somebody who I really admire, and I don't think I can ever get enough time listening to him and following his wisdom. Sonia McDonald's a motivational speaker in Brisbane, and a woman in leader business. She's somebody that's really great to talk to and speak to and understand what she does. And then probably the general manager of Cisco in Queensland is a really phenomenal person. Michael Reed is a really phenomenal person, and I'd love to be able to listen to him in a podcast.
All right. Well, we'll get introductions to Bevan and Sonia and Michael from you, and maybe get a bigger list later on. Always up for adding to my guest list. This morning we had an interview with Tony D'Urso, who's hosts the Tony D'Urso show, and he's got over 500 episodes, and he said, why don't you interview all of the guests I've had on my show? And I said, well, that'll keep me going for a little while. So
that will be great.
We will continue to add to our list of fabulous guests. So thanks for sharing your time and insights with us so generously today, David, on the InnovaBuzz podcast. I've really enjoyed it. I've learnt lots about how you approach customer service, how you work with clients to identify their real needs around data and how they can make their data work better for them and make better decisions with that data. So thanks again. I wish you all the best for the future, and let's keep in touch.
Thank you very much. I really enjoyed it.
I hope you enjoyed that insightful and informative conversation with David and took something away from this episode. He shared some wonderful tips about partnering with customers to understand their needs and challenges before working on any solution, and also doing sales in a way that builds long-term relationships. I'd love to know what you took away from David's episode. Leave a comment below the blog post, which you can find at innovabiz.co/David Smulders. That is DAVID SMULDERS. All lowercase, all one word, innovabiz.co/David Smulders. You'll also find contact information for getting in touch with David there, as well as links to the BitQ website, to David's LinkedIn page, and the other resources we spoke about in today's conversation. David suggested we interview Bevan Slattery, IT entrepreneur, and Sonia McDonald, motivational speaker, on a future InnovaBuzz podcast, or actually on a couple of future InnovaBuzz podcasts. So Bevan and Sonia, keep an eye on your inbox for an invitation from us to the InnovaBuzz podcast, courtesy of David Smulders. Remember to check out our Marketing Master mini class at innovabiz.co/Marketing Master. It's completely free and accessible without even giving away your email. In less than 30 minutes, you'll gain clarity about your ideal client and how you can communicate with them to build and strengthen an engaging, enduring relationship. And if you'd like our help to go even deeper into marketing mastery or into podcast mastery and our help with podcast production, then send me an email to jurgen@innovabiz.co and we'll set up a quick call to see if indeed we're even a good fit for one another. Tune in again next week to the InnovaBuzz podcast, where we've got even more fantastic guests lined up, including Dr. Amantha Imber of Inventium and Jackie Jubb, marketing mentor and copywriter. Stay connected with us by subscribing to the InnovaBuzz podcast at innovabuzz.com/subscribe. InnovaBuzz.com/subscribe. Make sure you never miss another episode. It would also mean a lot to me if you leave us a review, because what you think matters. I'd love to hear your thoughts, your ideas, your suggestions, or questions you have, so go ahead and share them in the comments below the blog post for this episode. Until next time, I'm Jürgen Strauss from InnovaBiz. Remember, be awesome and keep innovating.